I want to talk a little bit about the sensuality piece itself and sort of as it relates to just being women in our 30s and figuring out a little bit more about who we are and feeling confident around that area of our lives, because I do think that when we were growing up, we were really taught, we don't talk about these things. You don't exude that side of you. It's something that should be always just sort of like between you and your husband when you get married and behind closed doors. And also, I think there's so many layers to it, as you're saying too. It's not all vulgar. There's something that's really beautiful about it too. So for you, how do you describe sort of sexuality and sensuality in terms of the dance itself?
I think that there's such an opportunity for humans, not just women specifically, but humans to come into this space and drop into like their sensual selves. And I would describe that, as a really intimate, sacred, and personal thing that's going to feel different for everybody. That could be as simple as like looking straight into your own eyes in the mirror in front of you. Or that could be wearing a sexy piece of lingerie that like you've always been too scared to wear, but now you have like a safe space to like wear it in, or like pushing the bounds of like your comfort zone a little bit. Or it could like literally be like touching your body head to toe. It could be like grinding on the floor, shaking your ass. It could be just like soft and quiet and not performative at all. So I think it's not like a one size fits all thing. It's so different for everybody. But to have and be in a space that feels safe enough where you can explore that side of yourself is just like so healthy. And for me, I started this kind of class from a place that was really shamed sexually. And my upbringing was a little more like unconventional than I think a lot of people maybe our age. I grew up with like rock star parents and like my mom had like purple hair and was always wearing like crazy outfits to her gigs and stuff. But I feel like it definitely is a big concern when people start to come to class is like, well, what will people think and what am I wearing? And it is funny like seeing people like they start off and like fully clothed and then like the layers just come off. Like the more classes they attend, the outfit changes. It's like all these alter egos being unlocked.
That must be so fun to see.
It is so fun to see. Like starting in like full sweats to then just like fishnets.
But that's like exactly sort of an answer to my question too, is it's just showing that little things like being able to see, your hips can move this way, or making that eye contact and just really looking at yourself. You start to be more and more comfortable with who you are. And so you can show a little bit more skin. You can start pushing the boundaries a little bit more. It's those little things that they're learning and doing and trying, probably for a lot of people for the first time.
Yeah.
And now they're like, okay, you know what? That wasn't so scary. Or I can do that, and it's okay for me to do this, and I feel good when I do this, you know? And so then they start to shed those layers, I think, emotionally and physically with their clothing.
Yeah. I
really
think
cool.
A lot of our conditioning obviously has just been like put on us to like, you're either too much or not enough. And so it's like really rewiring and like rewriting that narrative. Like the work doesn't stop. And like I mentioned before, like I was coming out of or like from a place of like really feeling shame. I had just like broken up with my ex, who it was another ex, but abusive relationship, and really, really like rooted in like slut shaming. Like I had never been meant to feel like I was just like so just like should feel ashamed of like what I wear and like my body and how I move and like express myself. And so I really like needed this class just as much as like the people that were coming to it. And it's just been like a really amazing way to like, how do I like to move? And looking at myself and like, I love that I can show this part of myself and like feel sexy and empowered, and who gives a fuck what people think? Easier said than done, but like the more you show up for yourself and the more you create that bond, and like honoring your sensuality as something that is sacred and not something that is meant to be like stifled, shut down, or shamed in any way. It's just real healing.
I want to talk about that a little bit more, because when you were telling your story and sort of how this all came to be, when the yoga studio that you were working at was looking for somebody to help with having more sensual moves, I mean, I think it takes a special person to be the one to volunteer for that. And knowing that you have had these pretty traumatic experiences with your relationships, I think that it for me, it's surprising but also wonderful to hear that you were the one who was able to raise your hand and say, okay, I'll do it. So when that opportunity presented itself for you after, or maybe in the middle of going through some of those relationship experiences, did you have this sort of conscious mindset of, if I maybe just dive into this, it will reverse some of what I've been conditioned to feel or to think about myself? Or was it something along the lines of, I just want to know more? Like what really inspired you?
That's such a good question. And I think I have always been one to I've really always had this fire inside me where I like to shake things up a little bit. And I feel like I was feeling so repressed and like stifled in that relationship for a long time, and felt like I needed to like swallow a lot and just like bottle things up, that like there was just a part of me that was like dying to like scream and like be as flashy as I can and disrupt the shit out of like the yoga and like fitness industry. So that was like a big motivator.
Yeah.
And also the truth that I am the most like aligned and grounded and like in my purpose as I am when I'm in my body and like able to express myself through movement. So I think just like the deeper sense that like this is what I need to be doing, and like feeling that call, and I want, and a big fuck you to everything and everyone.
I
combo.
support that message. That's amazing. And, the fact that it was almost like muscle memory for you when that first relationship, you found him cheating, you drove and you found yourself back to your roots. And so it was a form of healing for you. Then it sort of continued to be this form of healing for you. And now you're really being able to spread that and help that, other people's find that same type of healing. But I'm curious, when you think back to those moments, like dancing was really this like coping mechanism for you. You were kind of saying it. I don't know if there's more to it, but is it just learning different parts of your body and feeling like, okay, now I'm really proud to show this off? Or what about it itself was really, you say, being in your body, like describe what that is, because I think it can be a little bit abstract. So I want something that's a little bit easier to kind of wrap my head around.
Yeah. I mean, I think something is just like really unlocked, the combination of moving, because we can dissociate, right? When we go through trauma or deal with anxiety or depression or like life as humans, we tend to like disassociate from our bodies, whereas our mind is just thinking about all of the fear, all the insecurities, everything else. And we're just like so not present. So when you move, it brings you into presence, into the moment, into yourself. So that's what I mean when I say like being in your body and like grounding into yourself, which is just so as simply put as like being present. And sensuality is like the awakening of your senses, right? So we're like listening to the sound, the soft or sexy or ratchet music, or like feeling like a goddess with like whatever you have on, hearing the screams and the support of like the people around you, seeing the lights and like the neon like lighting in the room. Like it's just a sensory and sensual experience. And then also at the same time, like being in this movement that is like, like I didn't know I could do that, or like look at like sometimes I really do see people have that moment of like, that's me. Like that's me, and just like experiencing yourself in like a whole new light.
I love that. So for you, what's been really is that really what's been the most rewarding part as a teacher? I mean, now I know you have so many other teachers and instructors, but you're still doing some of the classes yourself, right?
Yeah, I teach often.
So what's been the biggest difference between having those sort of awakening moments personally versus seeing it through the lens of an instructor and watching somebody else have those moments?
Yeah. That has been an entirely new role that I didn't really anticipate taking on. I didn't anticipate wearing the hat of like studio owner, studio manager, managing a team, supporting people in that way. And it's amazing and quite honestly really surreal when I get feedback from people that have had these life-altering experiences from my classes or from a Seacoast class. And I've seen some people go through earth-shattering things and that have come back to my class and the classes that we offer time and time again to help them heal. And it's interesting because I feel like a lot of the people that were coming to my classes and still do are from such similar situations, like so relatable. And it is just interesting, like kind of like you attract what you put out, and then we're just kind of like growing and healing together. But yeah, even bigger, watching these people have experiences, having that experience with like an instructor who had that experience in my class. And it's just like this like beautiful ripple effect. And that is the biggest part and most rewarding part of Seacoast for me now, is like the community aspect. It's an incredible community of all walks of life that are just so committed to their own healing and like the healing of others and holding space for each other.
Yeah.